All right, welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're doing well. So Gary Antoine Russell, this is a couple of weeks old, calls out SUBRIEL Matias. I mean, wow. You got to respect somebody that's calling out an animal like that. Both of these guys are animals. Now, Gary Antoine Russell, obviously one of four brothers. Gary Russell Jr., his legendary brother, who I'm not sure if he's still fighting right now. He's got two other brothers in the, I don't know if they're in the lower categories. There's another Gary Russell, and there's an I forget the other one. There's four of them, but this Gary Antoine Russell's in the 140-pound division. He is a dark horse in that division. He's knocked out everybody he's fought. He's 17-0 with 17 knockouts. He is aggressive, athletic, skillful, powerful, and smart as well. And watching an interview on Mill City, I think it was. Shout out to that guy. He does great interviews with Gary Russell Jr. And Gary Russell Jr. was talking about that fight, saying, you know, how it was going to be intelligence that wins that fight. And I thought to myself, definitely, but Gary Antoine Russell likes to be very aggressive, okay? So, like, would he be forced to... I know he can box too. I know he can box off the back foot, and I know he can, and he can, you know, like, basically slow the tempo down and go whatever fight he wants. But his nature and his instinct is to put it on you and be aggressive. So, my gosh, that's an amazing fight. If that were to happen, that is a brutal fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Matias took that fight. There's a lot of talks about Matias not taking the TO fight and that's how he was injured, and supposedly he wasn't injured. I don't really know the full details, to be honest. A lot of times I just wait until the fights are signed and speak on that, but I get excited about fights like this as well, because Gary Antoine Russell is he's knocking on the door. You know, he just had a first round knockout victory. I never heard of the guy. Cruz, brutal body shot. He's a vicious body puncher, Gary Antoine Russell. And he's got power in both hands. He's got an awesome right hook, southpaw. He's got low center of gravity sort of feel to him, stocky, and he comes to bully you. He's aggressive, but something's got to give when you're fighting Matias. Do you know what I mean? Wow. And Matias is getting smarter and smarter, because against Ergashev, he understood what was in front of him, and he understood he had to be disciplined with his hands up, and which I spoke about pre-fight in the keys to victory. I was like, he needs to really make sure he gets his defense on point, and he was doing that against Ponce as well, to be fair. So he's like, because pre those fights, he would just come in without a care in the world, just with his hands down, chasing his opponents around, and that's all good and well, but when you're going up against higher level fighters that can punch a little harder and their accuracy's better and they aren't afraid of you as much, it's not boxing. You know what I mean? You're going to have a very short-lived career. But so they've made the adjustments, and it's amazing to see, because it makes him more dangerous. So how he would approach that fight, look, he'd probably be very wary of Russell's power, but he'd also still be himself, as he did with Ergashev. He took a lot of firepower early on against Ergashev, where I was like, my goodness, Ergashev, you could see how much he could crack. But Matias had that game plan, systematically walking you down, taking a lot of shots, actually catching a lot of shots too. A lot of those weren't getting through, but some were. But even the some that were, or even the some that don't, you can still feel how powerful somebody is. You know, when you get touched on the gloves like that, or here you can feel the power. And we could all see from the screen, Ergashev could crack, and he was letting those left hands whiz, and didn't faze Matias whatsoever. He kept his hands up, kept the game plan going, and, you know, like I've referred to him in the past, there's a spider's web. You know, he's just gonna slowly plod his way down, and you're going to end up losing your power and energy, get caught up in his web, and then it's game over. And look, if that fight does get made, that might be the best one in 140. I thought before this, before the Haney-Prograis fight happened, I was like, Prograis-Matias is a great fight, but I'm not so sure anymore after seeing Haney hurt and buzz Prograis several times. I think Prograis just, he's coming to the end of his career-ish. As much as I love him, I've loved Prograis, and I've made several videos about him. Throwback fighter, love his energy. I just don't think that's a good fight for him right now. But you want a younger, fresher fighter like Gary Antoine Russell to really get in there and put it on Matias. Wow, what a fight. Incredible. What do you guys think about that fight? Do you think that's potentially a possibility? I mean, if Gary Antoine Russell does seriously take that fight, we have to take your hats off to fighters like that are calling out these fighters. I've got so much respect for it because that's boxing, you know. Instead, I made a video about Ryan Garcia. I kind of went in on him a little bit on a rant because that's not boxing, right? What he's doing, you know, I don't know who he thinks he is, but you know, this is how you do it. Matias and, you know, Antoine Russell, and I've made videos about Tim Tszyu, Brian Mendoza, Bud Crawford. Look, these guys just want to fight and get in there and fight and believe in themselves, and may the chips fall where they fall. You know, your stock can still go up in a losing effort, but I understand why fighters don't want to do it as well. You know, I'm quite, you know, reasonable when it comes to that, because not the Garcia thing. If it goes too far like that, then I have a problem with it. But I'm saying when there's a business duck that happens, then, you know, there's a team involved, and, you know, when you lose a fight or there's a high risk, you know, all the team get affected by it. But what Garcia is doing is something shameful, man. But back to this fight. Brutality. Absolute brutal fight. I'd imagine Gary Antoine Russell at some point would be, as his brother was saying, to keep it smart, you'd have to get your IQ going. You'd have to box a bit more against Matias if you really want to. I'm not saying Antoine Russell couldn't stop him or knock him out, but you've got a better chance of winning the fight with your mind, and that's what Gary Russell Jr. was saying. He's like, it isn't lifting weights or power punchers or guys that work so hard in the gym at trying to get in the best shape. Yes, that's really important. It's the ones that are smart. So we would probably see the best of Gary Antoine Russell to get the IQ going, because he's, like I said, he's aggressive. He loves to come forward and bang, and he can bang, and they can both bang, and that would be fireworks, because he's great on the inside. He covers up like this, and he'll wait, he can catch and shoot, and he'll come and rip him with these shots to the body. And like I said, he's got this low center of gravity, and he lets his hands go, and he's not intimidated by anybody. He's a dark horse in the 140 division. I made a video about the 140s, and I forgot to, he was on the thumbnail, but I forgot to mention he's really one of the dark horses. Him, Kurt Scooby, Jack Catchell, Richardson, Hitchens. Those four dudes are tremendous fighters. I'm making a video about Richardson, Hitchens, and Jack Catchell, because that fight just got, the purse bids got cancelled. Thankfully, that would have been a terrible fight. Both matchroom fighters, but let's be honest, that fight is not a fight really anybody wanted to see, because there's so, when you put two pure boxers in with each other, they're just going to neutralize each other, and they're not big enough names. Neither of them has a draw. That'd be a dead fight, I think, personally. I think they could take different avenues and, you know, like, you know, get better wins, because you're in danger of not building these guys up, because Hitchens had a great performance against Zepeda, but he deaded the place out because he's so good. And Jack Catchell, I didn't see the Linares fight, but they need a signature fight, do you know what I mean, soon. Or not a signature win, but like just a fight to get the appetite going, you know, for me anyway. Let me know your thoughts. This is a great fight if it were to happen, and 2024 is going to be amazing, man. I'm telling you, we're going to have such a good year. Like all these fights that are possibly going to get made, they'll be great fights, because last year we had some good fights, but the fights themselves, because of people and fighters that were being great, we didn't quite get the great fights. I think this year we're going to get the great fights. Let me know your thoughts. I said that already. Peace. I'm out. Boxing on the Edge.